Hi, everybody. This is Laura Chappell, and hi, Ginny. I'm here with Ginny Spicer.
Hi.
I am in Reno, Nevada, and Ginny is in
The UK.
Yay. And Ginny is going to walk you through some of the essential steps to build an LTP analysis Wireshark custom profile. And at the end of this, she'll show you the profile that we created that's available for you to download. So she's going to start out by just simply showing you how to build a custom profile in Wireshark. She will show you how to force a dissector. And the reason why we have to show you that is because the test suite we use to generate the LTP traffic, the Licklider transmission protocol traffic, that test profile uses non-standard port numbers for LTP traffic. So instead of using the standard port number 1113, you'll see it when Ginny starts it up. You'll see it's non-standard port number. So
your 2113s, your 5113s.
Yep. You'll see it kind of all over the place. So she'll show you how to force dissectors onto your traffic. She'll show you how to add custom columns into Wireshark, because that's really important for this analysis. That'll save you a ton of time. And then also she's going to show you how to create buttons that deal with the LTP traffic, how to add a coloring rule for LTP traffic. And she's going to wrap it up by showing you our LTP profile and how detailed it is. And then she'll introduce you to the challenge, which I would recommend you take next after you've gone through the LTP training and you've learned how to build a custom profile, then go into the challenge. So Ginny, why don't you go ahead and take it away with your Wireshark screen and show them the steps.
When we come to this profile, you may notice there's no LTP. This has to do with that port number thing that we just mentioned, that ION uses non-standard ports. So in order to make this dissect it as LTP, we are going to have to force the dissector. Let me click and drag this up here.
But Ginny, they don't want that in their default profile, probably.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So first of all, Ginny's going to start by making a profile for you.
Yep. Down here, I'm going to right click and make a new one. Let's call this DEFCON LTP. Okay. And we have a fresh new profile. I will drag my ports up to here to make them into columns. And then I can force dissection on these specific ports. You can see there are two of them here. I right click on the packet and I head down to decode as. Got to make sure that we're using the port that is associated with LTP in this implementation. And decode it as LTP. Okay.
And what a change this is going to have.
Already, you can see these are report segments and is recognized as LTP. It's a big difference.
And so when people see our profile, I know when you showed at the end, they'll see that we had to do this a bunch of times because a lot of the different trace files had all these crazy different port numbers. So we had to go back just like you're showing them again and again, and add multiple forced dissectors.
All right. So since that has now been forced on both of the addresses shown in this trace file, everything will show up as LTP. From here, I think that I'll start adding buttons. You may notice there's red data, and if you've watched the LTP, what did you call your session?
Well, we had two names. I had ground control to major Licklider, which I thought was a great name for that session, but I think the boring session name is just examining a Licklider transmission protocol. Yeah, that main video, that main training video, I did go through the type fields in there, the LTP type, but you can show them that field.
Yep. I'm going to make this a column too, just because that's very useful. So if we look at, let me actually go back to the slides and show the LTP type field codes. Because when I'm making a button for red data, that can apply to 1 or to 0 through 3. So I can't just say code equals 0. So let's head back, and this would be LTP type in, and we're going to look for, or actually, let's just say LTP type less than 4. There's our red data, and once I have something in this filter bar, I can go ahead and go to the plus way over on the right, and I'll give it a name, red data, and ta-da, I have a button. Now, whenever I'm looking at LTP data, I can go ahead and press that, and it will narrow it down to only red data segments.
So here's a cool thing that for those of you that haven't made buttons, what Ginny just showed you is one of the most important skills to master in Wireshark. And when Ginny shows you our fully developed LTP profile at the end of this process, you'll see how many buttons we have up there and how Ginny can just click on those to see things really quickly. It makes such a difference.
So many buttons.
Yeah, many buttons, buttons, buttons. There's a button for that.
Yep. Since I have a button for red data, I do want to make one for green data too. And if I edit what's up in this filter bar, now that I have that button, it won't edit the button. I can mess around with the filter without messing up my button, so that's important. I will say LTP type is greater than 3, and LTP type, oh.
There you go.
Is that correct?
I don't know.
I added it twice.
I have to look back. I don't have them all memorized yet.
Yeah.
I have to go look back at the slide, Ginny.
Yep. I'm going to do the same.
Okay.
All right. Green data is 4 through
Yep.
7. So that is correct.
Yay.
Greater than 3, less than 8. Let's go ahead and make a button. Green data. Okay. By the way, if you want to ever remember how you made a button or why you might have made it a certain way, you can add comments in this. If you right-click a button and say edit, there's a comments section. Personally, I find that pretty useful for longer filters. I've had some that just take paragraphs almost.
Yeah, I agree. You know where I use the comment area, Ginny, is if I'm making a button looking for suspicious traffic, like let's say somebody releases some paper and says, hey, this character string indicates this kind of attack. I'll put the comment in that button to say, hey, reference that paper. I'll even put the URL in there that will take me back to what made me create that particular button. Yeah, I think comments are great.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to clear this so that I will be looking at all of our packets. And next, I want to do something about these report segments because those are very interesting to look at. I want to make sure that I can spot them easily. So from here, I believe I'm going to go to View.
Do you want to show them the 2 ways of making a coloring rule, Jen?
Okay.
There's 2 ways of making the coloring rule. Go ahead and open up the coloring rules window, Ginny, like you're doing here.
All right.
So she went to View Coloring Rules. And a lot of people are familiar, Ginny, with making coloring rules this way. They click the plus and they do the typing in. But some people aren't as familiar with the field names as we might be. So let's close this window down, and Ginny's going to show you the right mouse click method, where let's say where it says LTP Type 8 report segment, you can right mouse click on that. And then you can select colorize with filter and skip all those top 10 because those top 10 are temporary. When you go to new coloring rule, it'll automatically put that syntax in for you. So there's 2 ways you could do this. If you do it this way, you just have to give it a new name and then foreground, background, color and stuff like that. But it's just that there's more than one way to do a lot of things in Wireshark.
Yep. All right. I'm going to name this coloring rule LTP report. What color should I make it?
I think in our custom profile, I think we used a purplish. Yes, I don't know. It doesn't matter. You can use whatever.
I think that this is the one that we use for reports, and that other one is for report acknowledgements.
Ah, okay.
All right. So press OK. And now something's wrong.
That's interesting.
Oh, it didn't put in.
That's
It put in the field that we had right-clicked on, but not the content of it.
Hey, can you try that again so we can see if we just found a Wireshark bug? Can you right mouse click on that?
Yes.
Guy? So what should happen, folks, and we may have just found a Wireshark bug, which is,
I feel it represents the experience.
It does, but this is the way it,
Yep, there's a Wireshark bug.
Wow. Okay. So Ginny, we'll report that bug. Mm-hmm. What should have happened is that should show up as 08. It should have pulled that value from that field and automatically put it in up here for us. I didn't even pay attention to the fact that it was 00.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so delete that top one, Ginny, and let's fix our previous one.
All right.
So to delete a coloring rule, folks, you can always just click the little minus like Ginny's showing you here.
Boop. Gone.
And then, let's add that back. Wow, that's funny. So here's the funny thing. I have to tell you this, Ginny. When I teach classes, every once in a while, Wireshark will crash. And the students in the class will go, oh, Wireshark crashed. But from an instructor's perspective, it's important to have the real experience of Wireshark rather than have everything go perfectly when you're teaching and then have somebody go and try to do it themselves. Like if we edited that out of the video, that would not be fair to the audience here. So I always think it's funny when something weird happens, but anyway.
All right.
Keep going, Jen, sorry.
Let's see if that worked. There we go. That's a bit better.
That looks good.
All right. Our report segment is correctly colored, but we also have our report acknowledgement segments, and I want to make sure we get those too. So I'm going to add a coloring rule.
And we know this isn't going to work properly.
Yep. And that is type 9. Yeah. There we go. Keeps me on my toes, making sure I double check. All right. And I'll make that background color this, just like our full profile for LTP.
Don't leave there.
No?
You got to change coloring rule name.
Oh, yes.
So if Ginny did close that window down, she would simply get back to it by going to View Coloring Rules. That's how you get back to your coloring rules.
Yep.
An easy way.
All right. Much better. There it is.
Whoa, that's dark purple.
That is. I may have chosen the wrong color.
You know what? Why don't you show them how to make the foreground white?
Oh, yeah. So let me go to View.
Perfect. Yeah.
Coloring Rules. Select this one. And just like I chose the background, I can choose the foreground with this one. And I like that it will
I think that looks better.
Show what it looks like. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that.
I think that looks a lot better.
All right.
Ginny, do you want to show them how to make a button for report or report act where kind of like, you did the red data will find multiple numbers. Now that they know that report is 8 and report act is 9, can you show them that in type of a display filter where, let's say, can you show them how to click and drag that field up as a display filter?
Yeah, I was just going to try that because I'm wondering if it will actually show it correctly. Yeah.
So
it's only with coloring rules.
So Ginny showed you a different syntax for filtering a moment ago where she said LTP.type greater than, less than, that kind of stuff. This in operator is a really interesting one. So what you do is you type you put in the field name and then you put the word in, which means in that field, do I have the values? And it has to be inside of curly brackets, like Ginny's showing you. Then you put in the values in that field, and we can put those values in just decimal here. Excuse me. So it's a little different syntax, and it's kind of nice for when you're looking for various values in the field. It shortens your display filter string. And look, she's testing it first. So in this trace file, there are 67, looking down at the bottom, there are 67 report or report X. And now she's just going to make it into a button.
I was just making sure because the intelligent scroll bar on the side made it look like there was still data. But when I scroll up, it fixes itself.
Yeah, that's weird, huh?
All right. So going back to that little plus sign on the end, I'm going to add a button. Report AC. You get bonus points if you spell it right. All right.
Awesome.
Now I can very quickly get to just the reports and report acknowledgements.
Yeah. It makes such a difference to have a custom profile. So Ginny, why don't you take them out to ours and just kind of show them how we, the level to which we applied decodes and column. I mean, they're going to throw up when they see our columns. And buttons and coloring. I mean.
All right. So our coloring was pretty similar.
Our coloring, we didn't get too crazy. We could have made green data, all green background and red.
I think that we should make a Mars version where everything is shades of red.
That's a great idea.
So we have a ton of buttons up here.
Do you mind popping up to the top of the trace file, Ginny?
Oh, yep. Which I will do with the button.
And the only reason I wanted that is when she scrolls to the right, look at all these columns. Oh my gosh. Okay, so give them the tool. Sorry.
Ta-da. All right. So we've got checkpoint serial numbers and report serial numbers so that you can match acknowledgements with what they are acknowledging. Got claims counts, offset. You will notice that we have 2 columns for offsets and data and offsets that reports are acknowledging. There's a ton in here. And these aren't even all of the columns, because if I right click, you can see there are more in here, and we can apply these and a column will show up. Or I can turn one off. Let's say I'm not interested in checkpoint serial numbers. It's gone, and I've saved room for my other columns.
And this is why having multiple monitors or having an ultra-wide monitor is so important for analyzing this kind of traffic with this number of columns. I mean, I know I have 2. I think you have an ultra-wide, right, Ginny?
I do.
Yeah. And
ultra-wide is great for Wireshark.
Yeah, and I have 2 monitors next to each other, and I just click and drag from one monitor to the next monitor and line up my columns so it lines up right at the split between my monitors. So yeah, right. And look at all the buttons too. So I mean, and I'll tell you guys, I made a version of this profile, and then Ginny and I worked on the profile together. Excuse me. And then Ginny went back and really tightened it up. So like Ginny, I hadn't seen that you added that data and report on the 2 offset columns, and that's really nice to clarify the difference between the 2 of them. Because if you do, let's say you click on the button for report right now, Ginny. Can you do that? The report act button.
Yep. Reports and acknowledgements.
Yeah. So this is where, if you go a little bit to the right, that's where that offset field starts being important to us, because that's showing up in reports, not report acts, but in reports. Now we can see the offset of the data that's being acknowledged. And so if you go back to the training, the main LTP training video that I did, you'll see what those offsets are all about. What are they telling us? And because Ginny's using this profile, she doesn't have to go inside every packet to see what these values are. You're not looking inside one packet and then looking inside the next packet and looking inside. You don't have to go inside the headers anymore, because Ginny's brought up all the important fields of the header.
All right.
Do you want to explain to them the weird cancel buttons?
Oh yeah, we don't have cancel segments in this trace file, but I can bring up another that does. Let's see. We have so many of these. It's LTTP green
LTP
2.
Merge, isn't it?
Huh?
Oh.
I believe it is green 2.
Oh, just green?
Hey.
Ah.
Yeah, with our other beautiful coloring rule. So if I go for, let's see if this is cancel from sender. Oh, it doesn't show up, so it must be cancel from receiver. So with these, you may notice one of these still isn't LTP. And there's a funny little reason for that, and that is that the Wireshark dissector will not be applied to something less than 5 bytes. And I don't know why.
After the UDP header, see how it gets data 4 bytes? There is.
That should be the LTP header, but it won't be dissected as that, because the LTP header needs at least 5 bytes.
Yeah. And so because of that, if you were to sit there with the LTP header format and interpret it,
we can tell that's a cancel acknowledgement segment to block receiver.
And the same problem Ginny noticed in the cancel acknowledgement segment number 13 also had that same problem. And so if you look up at her display filter, it's really weird looking. It's not as simple as, oh, report act 8 or 9. You see all the stuff after the or there?
Yes. So this bit at the beginning is what the filter should be if the dissector is working. But if it isn't, that's why we have our or, then you can go into the data and say at offset 0, 1 byte, we're going to look for this value to show that it is that kind of packet, that it is our cancel acknowledgement. And we also make sure that the very last byte is 00, and that our data length is exactly 4.
Yeah, so the buttons that you will see this extra bit of filtering in are this one that Ginny's showing you, which is the cancel act from, which button did you click on here? This is the cancel act from receiver.
From receiver.
Right. Is really ugly. And cancel act from sender
is equally ugly.
Ginny noticed the same thing, and to the dissector in, it's like, oh, there's a data length value in here that's wrong. If you scroll to the far right, Ginny, I did want people to see that cancel segments will show up and say cancel segments, but that last packet is a cancel segment act. And we can't make the dissector function properly to force the words cancel segment act on there.
but we can use the coloring rule, which also has this weird addition to it, to make sure that it still shows up as a cancellation in a way that we can recognize easily. It's orange.
Now, Ginny, did we put a comment in those buttons to say why those two buttons are much longer?
Let's take a look.
I don't remember.
Hey.
Oh, okay. Hey, I can't remember. You know, we built this a while ago, and then we both keep changing it and everything. So there is at least a comment, and hopefully we put that comment in both of them. I can't remember if we did in both.
And I believe that if I mouse over it, yeah, the comment should show up right there.
Okay. So if you are trying to copy and make your own version by copying our syntax we use for buttons, that explains to why these two really stick out and feel weird on there. Do you want to explain the wake and shut down button? And
the slap.
Yeah, slap. We used to call it slap your mama. And this is why it came about. As we are looking at LTP traffic that's generated from the ION tests, we knew that we were going to see these port numbers 3113 and 2113. And then all of a sudden we started seeing this other traffic, and Ginny just applied the filter for it. This other traffic that didn't seem to match the LTP traffic we were seeing before. Each one of these is only 1 byte long. I mean, there's 1 data byte, that's it.
Yep.
And so you know that the dissector is not going to be applied because that's too short. Luckily, both Ginny and I work with Scott Burley, who created the ION testing suite. Scott worked on LTP. Scott worked on the bundle protocol. And Ginny came up with the idea saying, you know, maybe these are some sort of a ping across from a client to a target system, something like that. And we, not a handshake, because right,
a one-way handshake.
Yeah, just saying a one-way handshake, which I don't know why. Somehow we ended up with slap your mama, the idea of, hey, wake up on the other side. And we did validate with Scott Burley that that's exactly what those packets are. But there's no way for us to apply a Wireshark dissector on it. The port numbers they're using are all over the place, and they're too short for the dissector to be applied.
Nothing to dissect. Just a 0, 0 every time.
Yeah. So those are wake and shutdown packets. When you see those, you also will see that we didn't go in necessarily and change the source and destination IP addresses. In our original trace files that we worked with, the testing suite uses only IP address 127.0.0.1 for source and destination, and that drove us crazy. So you will see that when you look at anything other than these packets, we changed the IP addresses so it had some feeling of a true source address, a true destination address. But we just left these ones at the original 127s that we got from the testing suite.
Because when we were changing the addresses, we were doing it a lot of the time by the port number. That was the easiest way to differentiate, since LTP will use one channel for sending data, and then another to acknowledge it, and then another to acknowledge that report.
It's so
but over here, what do you do with this source port and this destination?
Yeah, and it's going to be something totally different on every wake shutdown packet. It's just all over the place. And Scott did, acknowledge that and say, yeah, wow, that's, yeah, that's not going to work with Wireshark. And if you scroll to the right and show them the info column on this, that's all you're going to see on the info column.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. So, but you will save so much time by having a custom profile for this, especially for this type of traffic where
you can say, what the hell is that? And you might be able to apply a button and say, oh, that's what that is.
Right. Yeah. It's something else. So
you don't have to start from scratch.
Right. So maybe, Ginny, just before you go on and talk for a moment about the challenge, can you just show them how, if they build a really cool profile, how would they export that using the right mouse click method on the profile area? And then when they download our profile, you know, can you just sort of, so yeah, so if Ginny, let's say she changed this profile and she customized it a bit and she wants to share it with you, this is what we did to share this profile. We just went down to the profile column, right mouse click, chose export, selected personal profile. And what it's going to do is it's going to export it into a zip file. Okay. And then our zip file is what we are distributing to people. When you get our zip file, so when you see our LTP profile that we're making available to you, there you go. So she just exported it as a zip file. So when you see our LTP profile and you want to import it into Wireshark, you just need to go to the bottom right-hand corner, right mouse click, and import, and you choose import from zip file. And then you just point to that zip file. You can go ahead and import it, Ginny.
It skipped it because I already have it.
Yes, it's already in there. So for those of you that are going through the process, it would say one import or one profile imported, and then you'll see it on your profile list. When you just click on that profile area, it'll show up on that list. Ginny's got some pretty cool profiles in here.
Yes, working on some fun stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so that's the way that each of those primary steps are done in the profile. The, forcing the dissectors, adding buttons, adding columns, adding colors. And then, Ginny, do you want to tell them just a little bit about the challenge that you have for them?
Yes, there is an LTP challenge with 5 questions. I highly recommend going through it, trying to work through them on your own first, but I will be doing a walkthrough. This profile will help massively, I'll say that, but I think that could be said for a lot of LTP dissection.
Yeah, well, if they don't have the profile and they don't apply those decodes, they're going to have to figure out the answer by
bite by bite.
Yes. Yeah. So, all right. Well, Ginny, thank you so much for taking them through the profile and the steps. I think that really helps for people.
No problem. It's fun.
It really is. It's really fun stuff. So, and I know we're just about to go over to record the challenge, and hopefully I will be able to complete the challenge. We'll see. I'm going to go through.
Good luck.
But enjoy, everybody. Bye.
Bye.